That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, how are we doing?
We're doing fine, Aaron. How are you?
Good. I'm all right. So, look, I guess I might as well start with the story here on the big announcement today by the CAQ to the major English universities in this province. Jim, they're getting $20 million. What do you think?
It was so. Did you see the press conference? Were you able to see any of it? Because it was really kind of Stockholm syndrome-y because you've got the heads of these universities who, as you quite rightly pointed out earlier, got screwed over for 80% of their funding by an Anglophobic government. And then it turns around and says, a day after the Premier of Quebec is on CJAD saying, just clucking about what a great contribution these Anglo universities, Concordia and McGill are making. And here's the thing: we give you funding if you teach your students how to speak French. And remember, we're talking about English language institutions or higher learning. Used to be centers of research, innovation. The future of the economy, the future not just for Quebec but for Canada. And now the idea is, if you get 60% of your out-of-town students who, in fact, are just coming here and will probably never have to use French again after they leave Montreal, that's how we'll give you. You can split up the $20 million a year. And the thing is, to hear Martin Biron, the Minister of Higher Education, say, we all have a role to play in protecting in stopping the decline of the French language. This has nothing whatsoever to do with the decline of the French language. This is, as I say, an Anglophobic government turning around and just really grinding the heel and saying, look, you know what? Those days are gone, okay? Even though their funding cut, or their decision to increase tuition fees was beaten in court. They just turned around and says, "Oh, we'll give you another rationale for doing that," and they did that, and so far it's still status quo. So I don't know whether the heads of these universities are exhausted, whether they figure things are you can't get any worse than that, so we may as well just say what we're supposed to say in public and do whatever. But it is kind of scary that this is it. This is how things work in Christine Cachette's Quebec. In her Quebec nation, okay, that you are useful. You will get government funding so long as you fight the decline of French, a decline which we have established, we have determined, we have measured, engaged, and that's all there is to it. Oh, yes, and by the way, if you don't make your 60% nut in terms of getting your students to learn how to speak French, we're going to charge you a penalty. Okay, so there you go.
By the way, I just want to mention, Jim, because beyond the money it's actually costing them. I went back and checked today because when people hear $20 million, you're like, "Wow, that's a nice move by the government, right?" Oh. And then I heard the Sébastien Lebel-Grenier, who's the chancellor over at Bishop, say basically the same thing. Although I understand, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Someone gives you $20 million, you say thank you, but the damage done from the tuition decision that the CAQ made that got us here. McGill said it cost them between $42 and $90 million. Concordia alone said it expected to lose more than $60 million in revenue because of that decision. Yeah. McGill laid off 100 employees. Concordia laid off employees as well and professors. Yeah. So, pardon me, and to your point, Jim, this idea of, well, here's $20 million, look how good we did, or we are to you. Yeah, that's only a fraction of what they actually cost these universities to begin with.
Yeah, but Aaron, you have to understand is to protect the French language, okay? Of
course it is.
So don't start throwing around numbers of people who lost their jobs or institutions that have been reduced to shadows of their former selves. Everyone knows that every Quebecer in this great nation of ours, the only thing that they think about 24/7 is the decline of the French language. So obviously they're doing the right thing,
of course,
and that's what happened. Yeah. That's what happened today. And the only silver lining here is that every single government official involved in this will be out of a job after October. So let's just hope that things will change for the better. But I got to tell you, buddy, we got to switch gears right here and right now because there is a very, very big story that's going on right now. And I literally tripped over it, which is, and you sort of made mention of this, is that Charles Milliard is unveiling finally his long-awaited French language policy. And here's the thing. It's in the Gazette. It's covered by the CBC. There's not a single word about this, not even an allusion to it, not even a brief to it, not even a pointer saying more later in any French language news platform. It is absolutely off the radar. And I think one of the first things that perhaps Charles Milliard should do in terms of broadening his French language policy, in terms of certainly of getting the message out, I would take every single one of the people who are involved in his campaign right now, call them into a room, ideally today, and say, you're fired. Every single one of you is out the door. I'm starting from scratch. This is preposterous. This is supposed to be this guy's fastball, okay? And we just tripped over it. And I have no idea, unless it went out, maybe a communique went out or whatever, but there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. And maybe this will get, back of the hand treatment tomorrow in the French media. But honestly, excuse me, it seems that Charles Milliard is establishing the persona of the guy you don't have to pay attention to in this campaign. Everybody else, and even Christine Frechette, and a poll just moved now showing that she's paying the price for the bungling of her government in terms of business investments and so on. That's getting all kinds of attention. Yeah. But quite frankly, this guy, as I say, it looks like he's a lead pipe cinch to become leader of the second opposition party. That's presuming if he gets elected. But the fact is, what happened today is more than a warning. Okay, I think really, truly, it's going to be up to Charles Milliard to decide what he wants to do. But when you see what happened today, when you see how this, and one of the elements of this French language policy, which is, I find, is, well, first of all, it's rather daring and it's pretty gutsy. But the fact of the matter is, he says Quebecers can't read. They've got to learn how to read. We have to improve literacy. That's why they don't speak French. That's why French is going backwards. Is because the nearly half of Quebec adults are functionally illiterate, and this is the gorilla in the room that no one wants to pay attention to. Everyone's talking about all kinds of matters of great import. It is a fundamental issue for the future of this province and the people who are living in it. It's a matter of education. Excuse me, Quebec has really dropped the ball, and not just this government, but the past generation. Quebec has dropped the ball in education. And the fact is that now you have Quebecers who are barely literate. And I don't mean, you don't read 12 books a day. I mean, talk simple, basic writing, reading comprehension skills. And this is a conversation that has to be had, but you're not going to hear it, I'm pretty sure. You're certainly not going to hear it today because apparently somebody forgot to tell the French language press, excuse me, that this was going on. And I'm sorry, people can say, well, they're biased against the Liberals. Not every single platform is gonna ignore this event. Okay, every single French language platform doesn't have a word about this, which means to me that this got bungled. This is not how you run an election campaign. And if Charles Milliard thinks, no, this is not important, Charles Milliard deserves everything that's going to happen to him because it is absolutely fundamentally important.
All right. Let me move on. I want to just get your take on what's going on right now in Montreal North. This is my question. I got some very interesting phone calls with respect to some people saying, let's be really careful here about being too hard on police in Montreal North. So this all happens to, of course, deal with the situation. Fatty Daguerre's late night press conference on Friday. 16 police officers being investigated. Jim, this is Montreal North. This is not news. So what's the fix here?
They really have to start from scratch, and the problem is the force. I'm very, very sorry. And listen, let's put things in context. Whether it's Montreal North or some other neighborhood, I've been covering this story for 40 years. Okay, there's always it's a lack of training, it's a lack of understanding, it's a lack of this, it's a lack of that, blah, 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 blah. And you had this gentleman on, I think it was yesterday, from the Red Coalition, who actually sort of really focused on what the supervisors involved with this particular squad should be fired. Okay, and it's as simple as that. But the fact of the matter is, what we should be very, very concerned about is that these are not these has-been, kind of old school pot-bellied cops. These are the young and the restless and the marvelous. This is the next generation who are engaged in this kind of conduct, and that should scare everybody, because if you have that kind of sense of entitlement, that sense of that, I'm going to get away with it, there's something particularly wrong. It's good, yes, it's marvelous that cops came forward and denounced this. But the fact of the matter is, if you feel comfortable enough in that department to have conducted yourself that way, there is something very, very wrong, and I'm very, very sorry. Due respect to Yann Lafrenière, the public security minister, and a former Montreal cop, time for an independent inquiry into this, not internal.
We leave it at that. Jim, thank you. Appreciate it.
That's a man.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.